What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled UFOs for no action figure review.
And today we're taking a look at the brand new amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech Optimus Prime. It's an Optimus Prime transformer figure, but it does not transform. The focus here is posability and things like that. So anyways, let's get into it. And the first thing I noticed with this figure is how tiny it is. It looks a lot smaller than I was expecting, especially sitting in the box. But yeah, man, I thought he'd be bigger. I thought he'd fill up more of this box. But anyways, this box artwork is awesome. It is collector friendly. You could take the figure out, put it back in the box, all that cool stuff. We get a shot of the figure right here in front. I like these bright old school colors. You've got some like orange and red. You have the Autobot logo up here. On the side, we get an awesome pose of Optimus Prime. On the back, we get a bunch of different poses and then a couple of captions. It says Optimus Prime is back. This time we end it once and for all. Optimus Prime. All kinds of really cool stuff. And then it shows the accessories that he comes with. And then, of course, you get a bunch of poses that you could put the figure in. On this side, we have some more artwork. We get some shots of the figure itself, but it has like these stylized filters on it. The Revoltech packaging is always awesome. They always go the extra mile and put some really cool things in there. One other thing I wanted to show you real quick is, let's open this up and slide this out because we have some really cool artwork on the back of this thing. Check that out. Super old school. You've got the Autobots fighting the Decepticons. Looks like we have Megatron there, Soundwave, and I think this is Ironhide over here. But yeah, really cool stuff. Optimus Prime hanging out with his human friends. So this is really dope. I gotta find somewhere to put this because I like this a lot. But anyways, enough of the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure. Okay, so here we go. Optimus Prime right out of the box. And this figure's looking very, very nice. Looks like he jumped right out of the cartoon. You could definitely see that old school G1 influence in there with the colors and the blockiness. And he just looks incredible. Check out this head sculpt. I really like this a lot. You have to be careful of these antennae pieces because for me, as soon as I took the figure out, one of these fell right off and I thought maybe it just like pegged into his head, but it looks like there was some glue on there. It just didn't hold. So I just put a little dab of glue on mine, stuck it back on there, and it hasn't been a problem since. But that's something you should be aware of when you pull the figure out of the packaging. Check out that head sculpt. That thing is beautiful. I love the blue eyes and just the overall look. It definitely has that animated Transformers look to it. So that is super dope. And then working our way down here, I really like the way that the circuitry looks behind the windshield here. And it has like a metallic blue look to it that looks incredible. And one thing I will say about the red on the figure, I thought it would be a little bit more vibrant. It's a little bit toned down. If you look at the promo images, it looked really bright red. It looked very cartoonish and cool. The figure does still look cartoonish, but the red isn't as vibrant as I thought. But it still looks nice. And then here we have the Autobot logo on the shoulder that looks really good. And it's not just painted on there. It's like a separate sculpted piece, so that is really cool. And then you have the smokestacks here that look really nice. Down in here, there's not a crazy amount of details because he is based more on the animated look, but you could definitely see some stuff in here. And this figure kind of surprised me because I was expecting to see a bunch of Revoltech joints all in the elbows and the shoulders, but that's not the case. They did something a little bit different here, so that's cool. And then for the hand, you could see the sculpting work in there. That all looks good. And back over here to the torso. This all looks nice. You've got like a slight metallic look to this piece right here and also this, but for the most part, I'd say that it looks more plastic than metallic, but it looks like they were trying to go for something. Same thing down here. I would be really interested to see this figure with these parts painted white. I think that would look awesome, but just as is, it looks really cool. Then you have the arrows here on the arms. Over here we have the smokestack again, but no Autobots logo there. Let's check out the back here. It all just looks really clean. Check it out, just very simple, straightforward sculpt. Got the wheels here on the side. Do they turn? They do not. But they look okay, so it's cool. Yeah, it's a really good looking figure. Like I said, he looks like he jumped right out of the cartoon, and that's definitely what they were going for, and I think they achieved that very well. And Optimus Prime does come with a bunch of really cool accessories, including multiple sets of hands. So first off, we have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of open hands, and then we have trigger finger hands for both the left and right side, and then we have an open hand, like an open dramatic hand for his left side. And then he has a single pointer finger for his right side. And then this is something that's pretty cool that I don't think I've seen before. It's actually two fists kind of clenched together so you can make it look like he's hitting something or like, you know, coming down with the two fists on top of Megatron. That's super dope. I like that a lot and it's different. And aside from the multiple sets of hands, he does come with some other accessories, including some really cool weapons like his iconic blaster. And this thing looks really nice. You could see the sculpt work in there. I like the fact that it's not just black. It doesn't look like cheap black plastic or anything. It actually has like a gunmetal type of paint job to it, and it looks really cool. And I like that this back piece has some silver just to break it up a little bit. And he has no problem holding it, but it is a little tough to get it into his hand. Let's see here. Especially because his big old forearms. But once you do it, he's not going to drop it or anything. And then he does come with this Energon axe, and I'm really excited about this because none of the Optimus Prime figures that I own right now have come with this. So I'm very happy to have this thing, and it just looks really cool. I love the orange, and I just love the different colors. It's not just one solid shade of orange. You have some darker orange in the middle, and then it gets kind of lighter on the outside. Down here, it's like a spiked ball. Then it has a big old spike that leads to the axe. So this is super dope, and it's really easy to put onto the figure. All you have to do is remove his fist and stick that right in there, and there we go. And that looks really cool. So with his gun and his axe, Optimus Prime is ready to get down. And then for the final accessory, he does come with the stand. It's a little three-piece thing. You have the clip, the arm, and the base. But the figure doesn't have any peg holes or anything, so you have to kind of rely on this thing to hold the figure up, and it doesn't really support him. So I feel like this thing is kind of useless, but it's always nice to have extra stands laying around for other figures. I just don't think it's much use to Optimus here. Okay, so now time for some size comparisons, and here we have the Revoltech Optimus Prime alongside the Siege Megatron and the Siege 35th Anniversary Optimus Prime. And as you can see, the Revoltech version is just way too small, and you know, I'm not a Transformers expert. I would like some opinions. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that these two work together? In my mind, Megatron and Optimus Prime are roughly the same size, but you know, I kind of like when villains are bigger, so I mean, that's cool, but I don't know, this just might be too big of a difference. Let me know what you think. And I really wish the Revoltech version was the same size as this version here. I think that would have been perfect. They decided to go smaller. It is what it is. If you know, if that's going to be a problem for you, you're just going to have to skip out on this one. But for me, I'm fine with it as a standalone figure. It could hang out. It doesn't necessarily need to fit in with the Siege figures. I would have preferred that, but it's not the case. Next up, we have them alongside the Siege Springer and Siege Soundwave. And then next up, we have them alongside the Siege Impactor and the Siege Red Alert. And this kind of works for me, I think. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to Transformer scale or anything like that, but I do feel like Optimus Prime does look kind of cool next to the smaller Siege figures, and I feel like that kind of works. You know, maybe not for a display, but you could probably make some pictures work if you want to use Optimus Prime as a centerpiece to a shot. You could kind of set these guys back a little bit, and it'll work, I think, in my opinion. It doesn't necessarily work for some of the other characters, but I think for the smaller Siege stuff, I think you could probably get away with it. And then now here we have them alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And then now here we have them alongside a random Marvel Universe Captain America. I can't remember exactly which one it was. Maybe it's from the Invaders set. Who knows? But we have them with that, and then the DC Collectibles Michelangelo from the Batman vs. Ninja Turtles 2-pack. And now it's time for the main attraction when it comes to this figure, and that would be the articulation. And they definitely put a lot of good stuff in this figure, but I was a little surprised when I opened them up because I was expecting to see a bunch of Revoltech joints everywhere. I thought there would be gaps, and I thought the fact that we didn't see any gaps in the promo images was just really good posing and, you know, things like that. But that's the way they did things here is a little bit closer to traditional action figures than it is to your standard Revoltech figure because there's not a lot of gaps. I don't think there's any standard Revoltech joints on this figure. The articulation points seem more like traditional than usual, but they do get a lot more range. So that's pretty cool. I'm very excited about that because a big problem I have with Revoltech joints is they look cool, but they're super gappy and it's a lot of work to get them into good poses. That's not the case with this figure. I didn't feel like there was a lot to figure out. There was some things that were a little bit weird, but for the most part, everything was pretty straightforward. So let's get into it, starting with the head. It is able to move side to side. You have movement where the neck meets the head and where the neck meets the torso. So using that, you could get some really good tilt. He could look up to right there. He could look down to right there, but then his big old chest gets in the way. So there's really nice movement there at the head. You get some all-around movement going on, some really expressive poses. So that's dope. And then for the torso, let's see here. We have just a waist swivel and a really nice ab crunch. Look at that. Bam! You could fold the figure in half pretty much. That's a really good ab crunch. And he can't really go back at all because he has this piece here. Kind of stops it. That's as far as it goes. But that forward crunch is really, really dope. And then, of course, you have that waist swivel, like I said. I do wish that there was a diaphragm joint on here, but there's not. Or maybe like a ball joint at the hip instead of just a you know, a swivel. I think a ball joint there would have been a little bit better. That way we could get him to lean side to side. But I mean, you still achieve the same effect with the ab crunch and then the waist swivel. You know, so it's fine, but I just wish it would have been a ball joint so that you could tilt them side to side. I think that would have been dope. But as is, I am happy with it. And then for the shoulders, that's where things kind of get crazy. So you do have this butterfly type of joint, so you're able to move his arm back and forth like that. You could swivel his arm all the way around. You could bring his arm up over his shoulder so that it could come out to the side. And if you want to have him in like a pose where he has his arm extended, maybe shooting his gun or something, you have to bring that shoulder piece up above the torso. Otherwise, you're just going to do like that, you know. It's just going to, his shoulder piece is going to hit his back area. So you're not really going to be able to have his hand out to his side without doing this here. So yeah, these shoulder joints are really crazy. There's a lot going on. And then you could bring him forward like this and kind of bring his arms out in front of him. I know these aren't the best poses, but we're just kind of messing with the articulation here. So look at that. That's really cool. I don't know why you'd want to have Optimus Prime in a pose like this, but it's pretty awesome that it's possible. Look at that. And nothing looks too unnatural. Obviously, it gets a little crazy right here, but, you know, he's a robot, so you could kind of get away with it. It all looks natural and good. So I do like these shoulder joints. These things are pretty crazy. And then there is that, oh, and then this thing comes off sometimes, which drives me crazy because it's a little bit hard to put back on. And it's on there with the little ball joint, so there's actually a little bit of give to it, you know. You could kind of move it around independently from the rest of the arm. So yeah, the arm and shoulder setup is pretty interesting. And then aside from that, he has an upper bicep swivel. And then for the elbows, it looks like we have a double jointed elbow situation. So check this out. We get some really nice bend. And yeah, his elbows work really nice. Really good stuff right there with the elbows. And then for the legs, you could bring them all the way out to the side. But if you go any more than that, this thing kind of wants to pop off. It's only held on there with the little ball joint, but it does move out of the way. So that's nice. But if you keep on going, it's going to make it pop out. And then you could bring his leg forward. Let's see here. A really nice amount. And then you have another little panel there that kind of gets out of the way. You could probably go further than that if you wanted. But that's about as far as I want to go there. And then let's see. I think the same thing. Not really the same thing going back. Going back, it only goes to about right there. And then there is a swivel there at the hip. A little ball joint allows you to swivel. And then you do have, I guess they're called double jointed knees. I don't know. But check out the bend there. That's pretty cool. And there's a little panel piece here that gets out of the way. So that helps you out with the articulation. And then for the feet, it's on a little ball joint. It's a little hard to move it around because the shape of the lower leg here. But it's on a little ball joint, so you get some swivel. And if you shift it around, you could get some tilt forward like that. Some tilt back like that. But that's pretty much it. And then for the toe, you just have that toe bend there. So yeah, there's a lot of really good articulation on this figure, and it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's not too much to figure out here, so I'm really happy about that. Okay guys, so overall, I like this figure a lot. I think they did a really good job with it. I think he looks amazing. It feels like he jumped right out of the cartoon, which is awesome. I'm sure that most people's favorite version of Optimus Prime is the G1 version, and this figure captures that pretty well. I like all the accessories that he comes with, especially the energy axe. That thing is amazing. I like all the different hands. They're very expressive, and they look very cool. And I do love the articulation. There's a few things on there that I thought would be a little bit different, but I'm still pretty happy with what we have going on. You could definitely get him into a bunch of really cool poses, so that's awesome because there's not a lot of Optimus Prime figures out there that you're able to do that with, so that makes this guy pretty unique. He does have a couple of flaws, but nothing major. One thing that's kind of driving me crazy is how some of the pieces kind of pop off, like the shoulder or like the panels around the hips. Those things are kind of popping off on me, and that's making me mad. But other than that, I don't have any really big problems with this figure. Yes, he is small, but you know, I've accepted this as just its own standalone piece. I don't necessarily need it to fit in with all my other Transformers figures. There's already a lot of different Optimus Prime figures out there, so you have your choice out of like the one that you want as far as scale goes. You have all kinds of different options, different scales, and I think it's pretty cool to have like a handheld Optimus Prime that I can mess around with and pose extremely well, you know, get him into some crazy poses that not any other Optimus Prime could get into, and it, you know, fits in my hand. hand. It's not a big, huge monster or anything like that. So I'm pretty happy with it, but I will admit, I do wish that he was the same size as the Siege figures. I think that would have been perfect, but you know, as is, I've accepted this figure as its own piece, and with that mind state, I'm very happy with this. I do hope that Revoltech gives us some more Transformers. I know they're going to give us Megatron, but I hope they go a little bit deeper. I would love to get a Revoltech Soundwave. I think that would be awesome, and I don't think they'll get this deep, but I'd like to get a Revoltech Springer too. I think that would be a lot of fun, and you know, just a bunch of Transformers. If they keep doing it, I'll keep buying them. You know, I think they're awesome, and there's a lot of other Transformers out there that transform, so the fact that this line doesn't transform isn't a big deal for me. You know, I understand why it would be for a lot of people, because Transformers should transform, and I get it, you know, whatever, but for me, I'm perfectly fine with this figure not transforming, and I'm just really happy to mess around with it, pose it, play with it, all that good stuff. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a thumbs up, all that cool stuff. Thank you very much. Peace.
That's crispy.